Welcome to our Bible study in the book of Colossians. Today is lesson 3. Topic: Paul's acknowledgement of the recipients. Text is found in the book of Colossians chapter 1 verse 1 to 2. Aim: to stress the place of salutation in Christian fellowship. Introduction. Here we have a story of Mr. Nuhu. Mr. Nuhu was one of the first undergraduates who participated in the National Youth Service Corps in the southeast of Nigeria. During his primary assignment in a secondary school, he fell in love with Miss Ada from that community. Soon after the service, he left for his hometown in the north. The only way they could communicate was through letter writing. On several occasions, Mr. Nuhu would spray expensive perfume on the letters before mailing them. The aroma brought joy and love to Miss Ada whenever she received a letter from him. This continued for 3 years before they were formally married. In today's lesson, we shall start a journey through a love letter from God through Paul to the church in Colossae. Key idea number 1. Paul acknowledged himself as the writer of the letter in the book of Colossians chapter 1 verse 1a. Key idea number 2. Paul described himself as an apostle of Jesus Christ by God's will. That one is found in Colossians chapter 1 verse 1a. And bullet number 1, an apostle is one sent as a pioneering missionary. In the context of the apostle in the New Testament, is referred to a person who witnessed the early ministry of Jesus Christ. This one is found in the Acts chapter 1 verse 21 to 26. Key idea number 3. Paul acknowledged Timothy because of a special relation to him as a co-worker. Colossians chapter 1 verse 1. Colossians chapter 4 verse 1 indicate that Timothy was not a co-author of the letter. Key ideas continue. Key idea number 4. Paul acknowledged the recipient in Colossians chapter 1 verse 2. 4a. They are sent. It indicates that they had been chosen and set apart by God, thus a special people. 4b. They are faithful. Paul uses faithful through other times in Colossians chapter 1 verse 7 and chapter 4 verse 7 and verse 9 to characterize the work of trusted colleagues whose ministry of evangelism is exemplary. These were exemplified in public, home, work, marketplace, and town sphere of life. 4c. They are brothers in Christ at Colossae. This could mean believers in contrast to the outsiders who did not believe in Christ. It also speaks of the close relationships that exist between Christians as members of God's family, as those who have been adopted and outworking of Christ's love for them. The Colossians are to show brotherly and sisterly love to one another. Discussion question. Key idea 5. Paul's salutation is found in the Colossians chapter 1 verse 2b. 5a says, "Grace to you" was a common greeting between people living in the Roman world. However, Paul used the vocabulary to underscore the stark contrast between God's saving grace and the secular forms of salvation offered by the ruling elites of the Roman world. 5b. "Peace to you" was a direct quotation from the prophets of the Old Testament when they speak of Shalom, describing the fulfillment of God's promise to restore all things to their created order. Therefore, for Paul, it will indicate a deep and powerful prayerful concern for one another rather than a routine. Discussion question 1. What categories of people are you attracted to when you enter a new church group? This question is left for you to answer for yourself because you have the passion of a group and you have entered. What makes you to join that group? Next question, discussion question 2. Why was Paul attracted to people he had not met? Paul was attracted with those people because he heard about their faith and holiness in Christ Jesus. Discussion question 3. What was Paul's calling and how did he use it to further the gospel? Paul's calling was to be an apostle and he furthered it through letter writing. How is the church benefiting from your calling as a believer in Christ? This question is there for you to search yourself and look where your church can benefit from you. Discussion question 5. What is the difference between the title apostle and in our contemporary world today to that of Paul? Acts chapter 12, 1 verse 21 to 26. Paul's apostleship was seen through the propagation of the gospel by writing letters, while our today's apostles are on showing who own the largest church building or large gathering. Discussion question 6. What are the advantages of co-workers in ministry? Colossians chapter 1 verse 2. To help in the propagation of the gospel, to help in the spreading of the gospel. Discussion question 7. How did Paul describe the Christians in Colossians? Colossians chapter 1 verse 4. God's holy people who are faithful. That is how Paul described the Christian in Colossae. Application. Paul described the church at Colossae as saint and faithful. How will you describe the church you attend? In conclusion, even though Paul did not plant the church in Colossae and had never visited the members, God used him mightily to encourage them through his letter. Since the world has become a global village with simpler ways of communication, believers should use them to foster their fellowship. Memory verse. Our memory verse is taken in the book of Colossians chapter 1 verse 2, and it reads, "We are writing to God's people in the city of Colossae, who are faithful brothers and sisters in Christ. May God our Father give you grace and peace." It's found in NLT. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.